In 1961, inside a dimly lit military courtroom in Beirut, a judge stared down at a woman who looked like the quintessential perfect housewife. Her hair was immaculate, her posture elegant. Yet the prosecutor pointed a trembling finger at her and uttered words that would echo through history. This woman rocks the cradle with one hand and turns the world upside down with the other. To her neighbors in the elite quarters of Lebanon, Shula Cohen was a devoted mother of 7, famous for hosting lavish dinner parties for politicians, generals, and foreign princes. But behind that domestic facade lay Israel's most daring, dangerous secret weapon. For 11 years, this untrained teenager turned matriarch ran a massive underground railroad and a high-stakes espionage ring right under the noses of Arab intelligence agencies. She was a ghost in plain sight. But a single broken link in her chain was about to drag her from her picture-perfect parlor straight into a living nightmare of torture, treason, and a date with the hangman's noose. How did a young girl forced into an arranged marriage become Grandma James Bond? The truth about Shula Cohen is a shapeshifter. Like all great legends, the details blur depending on who you ask. Even her own children can't agree on the specifics. To piece together her true inner life, we have to look at her biography, codename Pearl, which begins not with a master spy, but with a heartbroken 16-year-old girl. In 1936, Shula had no interest in marriage. She wanted to finish high school in Jerusalem, but romance was an unaffordable luxury. Her traditional Jewish family was in deep financial ruin, so her parents married her to Joseph Kishak, a wealthy, devout merchant 20 years her senior. Despite her tears and pleas, she was whisked away to a strange new life in Beirut. Yet Shula didn't succumb to despair. Instead, she fell deeply in love with Beirut. It was a glittering, divided city, fragmented along ethnic and religious lines. Though her traditional in-laws expected her to remain confined to the domestic sphere, the world outside her window was fracturing. Modern, independent nation-states were rising from ancient lands. By the time Shula was pregnant with her 6th child, the United Nations voted to partition Palestine. Joy swept through Shula's heart, but terror gripped her neighborhood. Riots erupted. Armed guards patrolled the Jewish quarter. The entire Arab world began mobilizing for a catastrophic showdown. Then came the moment that changed everything. 3 men entered Joseph's shop, loudly trading gossip about the upcoming war. They never noticed the heavily pregnant woman quietly listening in the corner. They boasted that their village had become a makeshift military base, flooded with volunteer fighters and heavy weapons shipments meant to crush the Jewish forces that included Shula's own sister. Alarm bells screamed in Shula's head. Her husband Joseph dismissed her as emotional and pregnant. But Shula had spent 11 years bored and restless. She trusted her sharp intelligence. She feverishly wrote down every detail, the village name, the troop numbers, the weapon types, and impulsively signed her own name and address. 5 weeks later, a midnight knock shook her door. An Arab courier named Musa stood in the dark. Hidden in the lining of his jacket was a letter. It wasn't from her family. It was from a fledgling intelligence service that would one day become the Mossad. They had one question. Was she ready to risk everything? Without a second of hesitation, she said yes. Shula Cohen was about to step into a shadow world where one wrong move meant death. If you're fascinated by history's most brilliant unsung heroes who defied all odds, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We break down the incredible true stories that textbooks leave out. Drop a comment below. Do you think you could keep your cool under the pressure Shula faced? Let's keep the history debate alive. And now, back to the shadow war in Beirut. Shula's first mission wasn't high-tech spycraft, it was human trafficking. The British were evacuating Palestine and had just deported a critical Jewish leader onto a ship bound for Europe with a single stopover in Beirut. Shula had to get him off that boat. This trial by fire taught her 3 lethal lessons. Lesson 1. It pays to be friends with criminals. She used a neighbor's underworld connections to bribe the 2 ruthless brothers controlling the Beirut docks. Lesson 2. Money talks. She needed 800 Lebanese pounds. Surprisingly, her husband Joseph handed over the cash without a word, proving to be an unexpected ally. The target was successfully smuggled off the ship, disguised as a dock worker. Lesson 3. Build a bulletproof support system. Shula confronted Joseph. He loved her, he feared for her, but as a deeply religious man, he believed in the cause. He became her silent partner. When she slipped across the porous 1948 border to meet her handlers, they gave her a stark warning. If war breaks out, you will be a traitor. If caught, you will hang. They offered her an exit. She could go back to being a housewife. Shula refused. She craved purpose. She returned to Beirut and weaponized her identity. Who would suspect a pregnant housewife? She built an intricate network of dock workers, black marketeers, and peddlers. But when war officially erupted and 5 Arab armies invaded Israel, Jewish refugees from Syria and Iraq flooded Beirut. The stakes became astronomical. Shula needed friends in much higher places. Enter George Anton. Anton was the head of an undercover, all-Christian Lebanese intelligence unit. He was tracking the refugees, and he was tracking Shula. When his men intercepted a Hebrew letter addressed to her, Shula was dragged into his office. For weeks she endured relentless interrogations. Men were sent to question her children at school. Inside, she was trembling, secretly smuggling her oldest children out of the country. Outside, she was a statue of pure defiance. Then, Anton dropped a bombshell. He didn't want to arrest her, he wanted to help her. As a Christian minority in a Muslim-dominated region, Anton secretly believed that the survival of a Jewish state would shift the balance of power for all minorities in the Middle East. To prove his loyalty, he took Shula to a top-secret military site where Lebanon was building its central ammunition arsenals. He used his influence to wipe her record clean, convincing the military courts that she was just an uneducated housewife, utterly incapable of running a sophisticated smuggling ring. With Anton as a double agent, Shula became unstoppable. By the early 1950s, using her husband's wealth and her own intoxicating charm, she rubbed shoulders with Gulf princes, oil barons, and the Lebanese president himself. Top-secret intelligence flowed constantly from Shula to her handlers, written in invisible ink on the labels of medicine bottles at a local pharmacy. But a shadow can only hide you so long. By 1961, the political landscape of Lebanon was fracturing. George Anton resigned and fled the country. Egyptian and Syrian intelligence agencies had built a massive dossier on Shula. There had been kidnap attempts, assassination plots, and narrow escapes. Finally, her luck ran out. In the dead of night, Lebanese intelligence stormed her home. Her husband and children watched in horror as she was dragged away into the dark. For 11 years she had outrun the shadows, but tonight the shadows caught up. For 3 months, polite questioning transformed into brutal, sadistic torture. They beat her until her jaw dislocated. They knocked out her teeth. Yet through the agony, Shula maintained a brilliant lie. She admitted to smuggling refugees, but she never admitted to being a spy. During her highly publicized trial, the media branded her a Matahari, claiming she traded sex for state secrets. She bore the slander with frozen dignity. Even when the judge read her sentence, death by hanging, she didn't blink. Her husband Joseph was also imprisoned, completely innocent of her espionage, punished simply for being married to her. Behind the scenes, her lawyers fought frantically, managing to commute her death sentence to 20 years of hard labor. Shula was resigned to growing old and dying in a dark cell. But history had one final twist for code-named Pearl. In 1967, the Six-Day War erupted. Israel achieved a staggering military victory, capturing vast territories and detaining the Lebanese consul and his entire staff in Jerusalem. Lebanon wanted them back. Israel had one condition: release our prisoners. Release Shula Cohen. After 6 years in a living hell, where she had been electrocuted, blinded in one eye, and had her fingernails ripped out, Shula walked out of prison, broken in body, but completely untouched in spirit. She held her head high. She credited her survival entirely to her unyielding faith and the prayers she whispered daily while her cellmates mocked her. Shula spent the remainder of her life in her beloved Jerusalem, living to the incredible age of 100, surrounded by dozens of grandchildren who proudly called her Grandma James Bond. The world completely underestimated Shula Cohen because of her gender, her age, and her domestic life, and she used that exact ignorance to rewrite the geopolitics of the Middle East. Everyone knows the name of Eli Cohen, the legendary martyr of Damascus, but it is time the world remembered the other Cohen, the housewife who fooled an empire. Shula Cohen proved that the most dangerous weapon in espionage isn't a gun or a gadget, it's an unbreakable resolve. If you think Shula's story deserves to be just as famous as any Hollywood spy thriller, smash that like button and share this video with a fellow history buff. Don't forget to check out our playlist on the screen right now for more gripping, untold stories of history's ultimate secret agents. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next chapter of the past.